Well, it is a day of recovery after days of storms in the Pacific Northwest.
And our own Enritis Rodriguez recaps the pounding the region took over.
A number of rivers are still in a major flood stage.
That's right. And even as some water recedes, people are still forced from their homes by flooding and still basically living off donations and faith. WRAL's Brian Mims has their... So let's take a look at where we currently stand with a lot of the river forecasts. And again, you can see in the map behind me, again, focus on the reds and the purples. Those are the rivers that are still at either moderate or major flood stage. And unfortunately, they're going to stay in that condition for at least the next several days, some even longer than that. So we take a look again, look at Greenville, North Carolina, forecast to end flood stage this Thursday. That means they've spent a total of 11 days at flood stage. Gallivan's Ferry, South Carolina, they're not expected to get below the flood stage until this coming Sunday. That means they will have spent a total of 2 straight weeks at flood stage. And again, that really hinders a lot of the recovery and the cleanup process for a lot of these locations. So the faster they can get through that, the much better it's going to be for those locations. Now, here we're taking a look at a couple of the rivers to kind of show you. And take a look at this, the Waccamaw River. This is in Conway, South Carolina. You see where we currently are now. And yes, it is expected to come back down, but it's not expected to get out of major flood stage for at least the next 3 days, possibly even longer, if they end up getting some rain out of this next frontal system that's expected to come through. The Neuse River, not much better. Take a look. By the time it comes back down, even just to moderate flood stage, it's going to be at least until we get to Friday, Jennifer. If only it could come a little bit. You're going to kind of want those cooler temperatures after the next few days. So we take a look at this. This is Dodge City, Kansas, okay? Yesterday's high temperature, 99 degrees. That's a new all-time October record for the area, but the heat is not done yet. They're expected to forecast to be 98 today. Keep in mind, the average high is only 69 degrees. We've been talking almost 30 degrees above the normal for this area. Again, so just incredible heat that's just going to pretty much be lingering across much of the area. And it's not just there. Look at the entire country. We have over 230 million people that are going to have their high temperatures be above where they should be. And again, some are so far above that they're actually looking at the potential to break some records. All of these cities that you see here under red dots have the potential to break a record high temperature for today. It's over 35 different cities. Tomorrow, not much better. In fact, there's going to be even more potential record highs. But here's a look at a couple of locations. Cleveland, Washington, D.C., St. Louis, Des Moines, even Paducah are going to be awfully close. Most of these areas within a degree of what their actual record high is forecast to be. Some, the forecast is even higher than what the previous record is going to be. And looking at Cleveland, again, the record is 82. That's exactly what we're forecasting for this area. Still going to be hot elsewhere. Even if you're not necessarily going to have that record, you're still going to be so far above normal. We're talking Kansas City, Minneapolis, even Traverse City, Michigan is going to have their temperatures at least 10 to 15 degrees above average. Same thing for Pittsburgh, Syracuse, New York, and D.C., but that is going to be more of an issue tomorrow as that heat begins to make its surge towards the east and also into the mid-Atlantic. So here's a look at what we're talking about. Albany, the record high is 82, forecasting a high of 83. New York, record high of 82. We're going to be oh so close with that high temperature right around 81 degrees. But by the time we get to Friday, Jennifer, we finally start to see those temperatures come back down a little bit just in time for the weekend. Well, fall is a favorite season for a lot of folks. The beauty of the foliage is one reason why, but the season's also known for some things that can be a little tough to take.
Yeah, like the...
Right, well, we are here with Carl Parker to kind of talk about the tropics, and we're going to actually take a look at a couple of different regions, but we want to start near the Bahamas.
Yeah, and we're watching this area that's being watched now by the Hurricane Center. 50% chance of developing in the next 5 days, and the development area is basically out to the northeast and the northwest. And the thinking is that it's probably going to be captured by a front and taken offshore, so it's probably not going to pose a direct threat. Very, very disorganized now. It's associated with an upper low. There's a large area of thunderstorms with that. And as we look at the model forecast here, you can see that there's an area of spin that begins to develop not very far away from Bermuda, then works back to the west around this area of high pressure. But then there's a front. You see that big, long, linear feature there in the east, and that front is probably going to catch this thing and take it out to the northeast before it gets too close. though there is an outside chance that it could get closer to the coast because, as you know, things change, models change, timing changes. And in fact, here is the European ensemble members where they rerun the model to account for model errors. And you see some of the members are fairly close to the coast there as of last night. Most are well offshore, but there are a couple that are fairly far to the west. So there's this possibility that it gets closer. We'll
And
need to watch it.
Everybody in North Carolina is just hoping that it just keeps going farther and farther away from the coast.
Right, and at this point, it doesn't look like it's going to be a really strong system, probably in the range of tropical storm, and so that helps out with the rainfall potential. But again, right now it appears most of the evidence is that it is going to be offshore, so good news there. Yet another typhoon here in the Western Pacific. We average 5 Category 4 to 5s each year. We've had 9 so far this year. 130 miles per hour, the equivalent of a Category 4 hurricane. Really, really well-defined storm there. And here's a look at the forecast. It is expected to become a super typhoon, winds getting up to 150 to 160 miles per hour, perhaps making landfall there in the northern part of the Philippines and Luzon, and then making its way towards China beyond that. And a recent study came out and said that there has been a real significant increase in the number of landfalling Category 4 and 5 typhoons in the Westpac. It's about 2 to 3 times higher than it was in the late 70s.
All right, well, thank you so much for that update, Carl Parker.